All right, people, we are back with the last portion of the beginning of Project HearthFire.
Yes,
And this
exhaustion knocked us out yesterday, and it's taken us
certainly did.
24 hours to recover and come back to you. But anyway, 3 parts are already uploaded, and there's enough for you to look at. So catch up with it while we finish this part. And we had left off abruptly the last part, thanks to Zoom, uh, leaving you with the promise of talking about certain trees, certain very important trees in our life.
Absolutely.
And just as houses and their contents are one of the threads through which we are linking or taking you on a journey through heritage. Trees are another very important part. Trees, plants, we will come to
Absolutely,
all
they are.
this, houses, structures, we talk about people and their stories. So there is so much we are weaving together, but nature has been a very important part of our lives. It's been a very important part of my heritage. I mean, I can't think of, I name the trees around me, I talk to the trees around me, and now everybody is researching and saying, yes, yes, trees listen to you when you talk to them, etc., etc. But then, why should anyone research and tell me that? I know that already.
Yes, definitely they do.
You have a very deep connection with them. And whenever I see a tree destroyed before my eyes, I go through a severe emotional trauma. And I think Roger has something to say about this too, because his grandmother treats plants and trees like children. So, Roger,
Yes,
tell
she
us a
does.
little about your Dida and her garden.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's in Purulia. We have got a pretty big house there, and the entire house it's filled with around let's say 100 to 150 trees, 100 to 150 plants. I mean, all over, like the rooftop and the corridors and everything. It has like 150 plants, and uh, grandma basically talks to all of them, treats them like children. She spends most of her time with those plants, most of the daytime with the plants, sitting with them. If she's reading the newspaper, she's sitting in the middle of the trees and reading the newspaper, and that's what she does. And I think that's really, really beautiful, because
Hmm.
there is a thing that I believe, that the trees, they do understand when you care for them, when someone is, yeah. And in that situation, they tend to grow even, in a better way,
Yes,
uh,
they do.
grow even faster and stuff, because even the trees, they do have this sense that somebody is there, who's caring for them, and there's a reaction that you can see. And if you provide the same amount of water, keep the tree in the same condition, but you don't really feel connected to the plants, then you can see it, that the growth of the plants, or the way way they blossom, and the way the flowers come out, it deteriorates basically, when you are not connected to them.
Or you're not emotionally connected to them.
Yes, yes.
And Roger, I don't know if you've heard of this beautiful book written by a friend of mine. She is Professor Sumana Roy.
Okay.
And the book is called How I Became a Tree.
How I Became a Tree.
And
Wow.
it's absolutely profound, brilliant work of the mind and heart and spirit. And
I would love to buy
she's
that
an
book.
exceptional person, and I think you should get your hands on that book and read it. And maybe you should read it out to your Dida also. And she speaks of certain things about what trees have taught her, about our sense of time. She has spoken of a concept called tree time.
Free time.
Yes,
Right. Okay.
I have some observations also. Trees record everything. When you see the rings, they
Yes.
carry these old
Yes.
trees. Like today, we are going about mindlessly murdering these trees of Joshua Road. I think most of you
Yes.
have heard about this massacre which is going on right now, and which so many people are trying to stop. And it just shows how soulless we have become, and how much we have lost perspective. Even if you think of purely the utilitarian aspect of trees, we are losing so much in destroying them. But there is more than that utilitarian aspect also to the trees. And I can tell you, if you have been around a tree and got attached to it, and that doesn't take very long, there's a very strong emotion there, which I can't even
Yeah.
describe.
Yes. I mean, back in the day, I was talking with my friend Naitik, and he was saying that, he gets really tensed and worried when he goes to Purulia.
Hmm.
I said that why? It's a, I mean, it's a good environment there. I mean,
Hmm.
except from uh, the hardships that he has to face there, probably it's a good situation. But he was like, that I get worried that are my plants okay over here?
Yes,
And I'm
actually,
like, yeah.
I agree with you. At one point in time, there was a lot of callous felling of trees in my area, and it was traumatic for me. And every time I'd
Hmm.
go out of the house and come back, I would come back in an anxiety state about whether my trees are all okay, or someone has brought the axe down on them when in my absence. And I'd always get this anxiety when I went out of the city, even for a holiday. When I came back, I would come back very nervously and look around to see if all the trees are all intact. And it's a very scary feeling, And this is exactly why I thought of the importance of trees, because these trees outlive us. You see, we outlive
Yes.
our animal friends, the companions, our dogs, our cats, our birds. Mm, the beautiful furred and feathered creatures who become part of our lives. We invariably
Yes.
outlive them. It's every time we lose them, it's like grieving a child.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
these trees have been there long before we were born. And when you look at such a tree, like there is a tree here that I named Mother Neem. She is in the compound of number 18, which is
Right
fairly close
beside.
to the horrible number 16. I mean, we are talking about
Yes.
Calcutta trees right now that I grew up with. And
Yes.
twice I have saved Mother Neem from massacre by calling the press,
Okay.
the police, the environmentalists, and who have you on her, to come and halt the misdeeds. And once it was in 2004, my mother was there, and I rounded up a lot of people who were very helpful. Uh, got hold of someone in the telegraph, who got hold of somebody. That's when I met Jayanto Basu. He came with a big team of journalists, and he rounded up
Okay.
a few cops, and they all arrived there, and they threatened the people at number 18 and told them where that they would be in serious trouble, and they needed a whole lot of justification, permission, sanction, even to touch one branch of the tree. Those guys got the message. 4 years later, memories are short, somebody at the same number 18 took off. Once again,
Okay.
I knew now. So I dialed Mr. Basu, and he put me on to somebody in the forest department. And all those years, these horrific promoters, they have always been after me. You know how they are. They want
Yes,
to
I know.
be rid of
I'm aware of
people,
them.
of trees, of poor people, of everything, and all they want is to dump concrete on every inch
Yes.
of Mother Earth. So I was very vulnerable at that point, being attacked by being targeted by these characters whom I'm also fighting in the court. And I didn't want any more people and their goons to get after me. So, in fact, the head of the forest uh, section, the forestry section of KMC, was
Mm-hmm.
amazingly helpful to me. He said, "Don't worry, your identity will not come into this at all, but we will send a team and we will catch the culprit." And true enough, they did that, and the murder was solved.
That's
Now,
a really nice thing.
very fortunately, from 8 till 23, the Lord be praised, the tree remains. She has grown old, she's sort of become gnarled, and a younger tree is also coming up in her shadow. So I hope that when her time is over, the younger tree grows to fullness and carries on. The younger tree is
Th-
surely one of her children.
It's just one more form of carrying on the hearth fire,
Oh,
no?
it's yes, yes. And so I keep
Hmm.
every night, I look towards the south and I bid her good night. And another very dear tree of mine called Mother Bale. Uh, there are some miscreants who inject some chemicals into the roots of trees just
Ah.
to destroy them. And another tree, a Saptapani tree on Elgin Road, as well as this tree, more or less died at the same time. They died in such a way that they were not felled, nobody destroyed them. Their bare skeletons are still lying there. And it was a big shock for me
They were
because
poisoned.
they must have poisoned it, and I came to
Yeah.
know. And imagine someone, I mean, this is an ancient bale, it is on somebody's property, and still you manage to push in enough of the toxin, through the footpath, or whichever way. They must be having their bag of tricks for doing this. Or maybe what they did to poison the tree on the road, some of it percolated and destroyed this other, because this is a very ancient tree. This tree was there before my time. And my parents have known this tree ever since they came here. So the tree grew up before my mother, and my mother always had this dream that one day she would sit down with a paint box and paint that beautiful tree. And that never happened. I have a lot of photographs. I would be happy if somebody took one of the photographs and actually painted it in honor of my mother and in honor of the tree. That would be so beautiful to fulfill
Is
her.
this is the tree still there?
The skeleton, it is barely recognizable as a tree.
Oh my goodness.
It's
You
just,
send me the pictures,
I,
I'll try to sketch it.
oh, lovely. I'll send you the pictures. Do try, do try. My mother would like. And the biggest shame is that Shaptapurni is the state tree of West Bengal. It's a tree with very important associations with Gurudev and Shantiniketan. If you look up,
Yes.
you can, for those who don't know, you can find out on the internet about this. And they had made a policy of planting a number of these very trees. There are a lot of Shaptapurni trees in this area. And this one was, it grew up before me. It was just a plant, it was just a sapling, and it grew up before my eyes. And it was just killed off like this. And I know, you see, it would have outlived me, but it had to die before my eyes, and that hurts. And I think it's a shame, it's a
It does.
disgrace that anybody should go and murder the state tree in this manner. But then people don't care for anything. People don't care for anything. And this is why I'm going back to the house, the beautiful house. I showed this beautiful house that we sadly had to part with for various reasons, which I won't go into on this show. If anybody would like to know more about it, they can contact me in person and I'll share the story. But these videos go to too many people, so I'd rather not. But the
Right.
thing is, the property went into the hands of somebody who filled up every inch of it with concrete. And all the beloved trees presumably went. But one beloved tree stayed. And I now want to show you this beloved tree in a screen share.
Okay.
And, I would like you to see this. Where do you share screen as well? Can you see this?
Ah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I can.
This this tree is called the cannonball tree because of its
Okay.
roots. They look like
It
cannonballs.
has, yeah, yes, I mean,
I've seen this tree.
it's
I think it's originally a Southeast Asian or South American. But it's been in India for a very long time. It's considered a sacred tree in India. And the flowers, if you notice, they remind you of a lingam with a serpent hood. So it's called Nagalinga in South India and various similar sounding names elsewhere in the country. And
okay. Okay.
somebody, when this land was newly
Mm-hmm.
purchased, presumably around the time that the houses were built, somebody decided also to plant various trees. A number of neems, a row of 3 or 4 neems was planted, and my mother knew each of them, as each of them was a friend to her. She grew up with these neems and they breezed. And this tree was a sort of centerpiece of that estate where 2 houses stood at right angles to each other. You have seen one house.
Yes.
It showed it in yesterday's part.
Yes,
Other
yes, yes.
house, I'll try to find pictures. That was the Marshi's house.
Okay. It was next to it.
It was not next to it. It was some distance away at right angles and directly facing the street.
Okay,
So
okay,
this
okay.
tree was like a portal to that house. And if you notice,
That's
this is a very old photograph, not a very clear
yes.
one. And you can
Mhm.
notice here that there is a small temple
Yes,
with I am guessing a stone that temple with a stone deity, which is
yes,
a Lord Ganesh.
yes.
And this tree and this temple,
Mhm.
for whatever strange reason, maybe because there was a temple there and they were afraid of God's wrath, this had to be worked around by whatever plan they made.
Okay, all right.
And when talking to some people in the city who were more in touch with what was happening there, I came to know by chance that this tree still stood. And that was a miracle because this tree was planted sometime in the late 1920s. 1927 or 2028 is possibly when that land was purchased.
Wow. And the tree's still there.
The tree is still there and it is the sole
Wow.
witness to all that has happened there, and it
Wow.
carries memories. And if we could talk to this tree, we would unravel all the events that happened there, all the people that walked around it, all the people that trod the soil of that estate, all the sounds, their conversations. This tree has recorded everything
That would be, I
because
mean,
trees do that.
yes, they do. They definitely
And
do.
this is one
Because,
major reason we should never destroy them, because we still don't know enough about trees and what they record. We see their rings. Seeing those rings is far too familiar, right? It always reminds you of the platters of a disc. Where
yes,
you're storing data.
as if,
God
yes.
alone knows what data is actually stored there, which we, the brilliant we humans, with our limited devices of probing and understanding,
Hmm.
and our limited respect for these beings, because we always see ourselves as superior beings.
Absolutely, we do.
So we don't know which of our secrets they hold. But when you just see this photograph, don't you get a feeling there are secrets there?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, uh, first of all, it looks like a huge tree. It's just a part of it that we are seeing
That's
right now, I guess.
only the base of the tree.
Yeah, right. See,
I'm
that's
showing
what I'm
you
saying.
only
Like,
the base near the temple because that's the way
s-
the photograph was taken. I don't
yeah,
know
just the base of the tree.
I don't know if photographs have been taken from a distance, so that you get perspective and you get the full tree in the frame.
Because I'm guessing it's a huge one. I mean, it has got everything that has happened over time.
Everything
And
has been recorded by that tree. And that tree
uh,
stands witness to all the births that took place in the house that faced it,
yes,
the deaths
definitely
also
it
that
did.
took place. And there are the deaths that took place in the beautiful house I showed you.
Yes,
3 deaths have taken place in that house. The original grandfather, my mother's grandfather,
yes,
my grandfather, whom I referred to yesterday, and my paternal grandfather, who moved into that house. As I told you, that house always was a shelter to somebody or other who did not own it. Even my grandfather did not own it. Even my great grandfather did not own it. The one person who owned it, and she was the sole owner of that house, was my mother. But everybody else enjoyed the hospitality of that house. And this tree, every single person who was carried out on their last journey would have been
mm-hmm.
carried out past this tree. And I have seen this with my own eyes, at least one of them. So when I saw this picture again, I got these enormous goosebumps. But before I saw this picture, I saw another picture of this tree. And I'm going to show that to you now.
Okay.
Here we are. You see it? Technicolor tree.
Uh,
This tree, which is
Wow.
somewhere which dates back to the late 20s, uh, is has been photographed in 2023 by a friend of mine.
Wow. Since when was this tree there? I mean, where is it?
This tree is right there on the same estate, except that
Oh, really?
it's the same tree. You're seeing the same tree, the very
Okay, this is the same tree. Okay, all right.
the same tree 2023.
It looks majestic.
It has been, so you see, it has grown into a much bigger tree and a much more hoary tree than what it
It's
was
it's
then.
become it's probably become an ecosystem in its own.
But just have a look,
Yes,
and it's been very
abs
beautifully captured also, and
it's
I
very
can,
beautifully captured.
I'm able to
Yes.
see its green leaves also, and the flowers have the same rich color that I knew them to have then, and I'm sure they have that same rich scent, because the last I treated myself to the scent was in 1976. After that I didn't visit, and in
Oh, wow.
1981 my mother lost her connection with that estate. It changed hands. So the tree remains. So you see, this tree, if you talk to this tree now, this tree is that tree I showed you in the other photograph. I don't know in
Wow,
which
this
year
is
that photograph was taken, but this photograph was taken in early 2023.
my goodness, this is like
By sheer chance, I made a friend on Facebook.
okay.
We were fighting a common cause together, and we came together. And I discovered, accidentally looking at his profile, that he studied in the school which had purchased this estate.
Really? Wow.
Yes. So
That
that
is
is a
different.
divine connection that he should have been sent into my life. And I spoke to him
Absolutely.
immediately and said, look, we have an ancestral connection. And I told him, Arun Mohit, are you listening? This is about you. This is your tree, which is my tree, which was my tree. And now I would like to say again, it is my tree, because you have brought this tree to me again. And just see its sheer beauty, it is mesmerizing. And as I look at it, all those familiar lines come back to me. How it looked, and it's grown taller. So these roots from which the flowers grow, they used to, when the tree was shorter, they used to sweep the ground literally.
But
But
now they're hanging,
they are a
so
little elevated now, which
yes.
is what I gathered from the photograph.
So I'm assuming the tree grew even. I mean,
It grew in
it
height.
keeps on growing, no?
You see,
Keeps on
it had
growing
grown a
in the
lot
course
in
of time.
girth at that point. But I'm
Yes.
thinking that because of a lot of buildings would have come up around it, it decided
Mm-hmm.
to grow in height,
Yes.
because it didn't have any more space to grow in girth. The roots had grown in such a way that, the frontage of my grand aunt's house,
Mm-hmm.
the roots with the flowers on them used to come and caress that, the edge of that front porch. They
Okay.
came almost till there. It was something
That's
sublime. I have no words for it. And that was the scent, and you could get the scent all the time. That that's a very, if have you ever smelled it, Roger?
uh yes, I guess I have in back in Purulia, I guess I have.
You have them in
Because there
Purulia.
yes.
There are
Yes.
at least three of them on Elgin Road, because people have now taken to planting them here and there in Kolkata. You see, earlier there
Yes.
was one only in Mahanirvan Mutt on opposite Triangular Park,
Okay.
a very
Okay.
grand looking one. But there are two in the park near my house. They've been there for quite a while. They are
But
rather
now people are just trying to destroy them.
Yes, but when you come this side, I'll take you to the park and you can check out those trees and smell them.
Okay.
You must do that.
Surely, I would love to.
Yeah, so like they are my nearest link to this, and this is basically what I wanted to do. I wanted to introduce our tree connection with a very special tree, and this is, I think, a tree of many people's shared emotions.
So in that manner, if I say, then
It means a lot to people in my greater family, my cousins, and a whole lot of them. I'm going to be sharing. The first thing I asked him is, somebody told me that tree is still there. Is it true? Is it there? And he said, yes, it is there. And the very next time he went to Chennai, he promptly got me the photos of the tree and mailed them to me.
that's
So
beautiful.
I really
That's beautiful.
appreciate you, Arun Mohit. You're part of this story. And I think Zoom has only 5 minutes left for us, and maybe this is really the concluding part of this episode. So I will quickly mention two things that I forgot to speak about yesterday. One was the heavy object, which at Madras Central Station, my grandmother shoved into my mother's hands. That was a beautiful big Tanjore painting of Gajalakshmi.
Ah,
And that Gajalakshmi traveled in the first class compartment with my mother. And an altar was set up here in my house. And that altar has remained in the same place since 1949 with that Gajalakshmi as the presiding deity. And the little Krishna from the earlier altar looks over her. He's up on the wall. These two paintings are with me. So that's one thing. The other thing is the beautiful cot, which I will eternally resent. That's a big gripe I have with my mother. And because after I outgrew sleeping in the cot, I would keep all my treasures in it, my toys, my dolls, my books. It was my sort of my go-to place. I would get inside it and sit with all those things and enjoy myself. Like
it's like your little
like,
fortress.
like a my fortress, yes. And when the whole family, when all the three of us went down with chicken pox, our family doctor had gone away somewhere, and we were without a doctor. Not that a doctor does much for your chicken pox, but for some reason, my mom panicked and sent for a doctor. This random doctor came. And the random doctor looked all around and said, your baby keeps lots of rubbish. He looked at my fortress. My books and toys were considered to be rubbish by him.
uh,
And it's the first time in my life that I heard that a child's collection of books and toys give chicken pox to anybody. So virologists here, please note, if your children have a little fortress of books and toys, make sure you destroy it because some virus must have it. Oh.
it's more like a treasure to the child.
And this is a rosewood treasure. And what does this lady go and do to it? She promptly clears it all out, calls the
Mm-hmm.
Bijli wala. Lots of my stuff is disposed of. And she casts, literally, pardon my saying it, but she casts pearls before swine. She decides that this old taxi driver's wife who lives in a basti next door produces lots of
Mm-hmm.
children and they need a cot to sleep in. And she goes and gives away a
Ah.
heritage rosewood cot to her.
I mean, that's not so bad in a way, but then again,
Kind of
yes,
her
for a,
as a kind act, but then if you want to
it's a
help
kind.
that lady, buy her a cot which is more, which is more appropriate
I
for
mean, for the child, it's not from the child's perspective, it's not such a good
her.
act, something being taken away from her.
Yes, and nor does that mother with her multiple babies nor anything else care for whether you're giving a heritage heirloom cot to her or just some random cot, right? So at the end of all this, many years later, I
Hmm.
turn around and tell my mother, Arey, why the hell didn't you tell them to practice, call the taxi driver and tell him to practice birth control? Instead of providing cots every time they decided to breed. Okay, that
Uh,
was tongue in cheek. And with that, I'm going to end this episode before Zoom throws us out. And thank you so
Absolutely.
much for being here with us. And may this tree bless you all with fulfilled.
Absolutely.
We will come back to this theme of trees in our next episode next week.
Yes, we will.
Catch you all on the other side. Good night, everyone.
Good night.